Welcome back to Ben's Book Club. Today, we are diving into Dollars and Cents by Dan Ariely and Jeff Kreisler. And let me tell you, this book explores the absolutely fascinating psychology behind why so many of us are, well, kind of irrational with our money. So let's just jump right into the core idea that kicks this whole thing off. Right off the bat, the book hits you with this pretty uncomfortable truth. I mean, we all know saving is good and debt is bad, right? But it's like that knowledge just vanishes the second we're about to buy something. It turns out our financial decisions are almost never driven by cold, hard logic. And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? If we're not using logic, what on earth is running the show? Well, the book argues it's this whole collection of hidden psychological biases, these emotional triggers that, frankly, marketers and financial systems have gotten really, really good at exploiting. Let's start with the first huge psychological glitch the book points out. The actual physical act of spending money has totally changed, and our brains just haven't caught up at all. Okay, this is wild. It gets to a concept called the pain of paying. When you physically hand over cash, like actual bills, your brain registers it as a real, tangible loss. It literally hurts a little bit, and that little bit of pain is like a natural break on our spending. And here's where modern life comes in. Credit cards, Apple Pay, tapping your phone, one-click ordering. All of it is designed to be completely frictionless. It's engineered to remove that pain of paying, which makes it so easy to spend way more than we mean to, sometimes without even thinking about it. Now, let's move on to the next glitch, because it really builds on this. It turns out that we are just terrible, absolutely terrible, at judging the real value of, well, anything. Instead, our brains are constantly playing this little comparison game. Come on, you've seen this a million times. You're at a restaurant, you look at the menu. Is that $15 glass of wine actually worth $15? Who knows? But you see that $25 one right next to it, and suddenly, $15 looks like a pretty smart, totally reasonable choice. This is not an accident. It is 100% a deliberate strategy. So why are we such suckers for this? It's because our brain is just desperately looking for context. It wants a shortcut to make a decision, because figuring out the true, absolute value of something is actually really, really hard mental work. So this is a classic concept from behavioral economics called relativity. That $25 glass of wine, it acts as an anchor. It's a high reference point that makes everything else around it seem cheaper by comparison. We're not making a decision based on actual value, we're making a decision based on what's sitting next to it on the page. Okay, so we've got the numbness of modern payments, and we're judging value based on these crazy comparisons. The third big psychological flaw the book talks about is how we organize the money we already have. And spoiler alert, it's just as irrational. Logically, a dollar is a dollar, right? $500 is $500, but that is not how we treat it. A tax refund can feel like found money or fun money, perfect for a splurge. But a $500 bonus that you worked hard for, that feels more serious, maybe you should save it. Where the money comes from completely changes how we feel about it. The book calls this mental accounting. It's like we create these little imaginary buckets in our mind. This is my vacation fund, this is my fun money, this is my serious savings, and we assign different rules to each one. This leads to some really weird behavior, like keeping money in a savings account earning almost nothing, that's our savings bucket, while we're carrying high-interest debt on a credit card in our debt bucket. It makes zero logical sense, but psychologically it feels organized. So after pointing out all these ways our brains are basically wired to fail with money, you might be feeling a little hopeless. But thankfully, the book pivots from all the problems to the solutions. And the answer isn't what you might think. And this is maybe the biggest takeaway of the entire book. Trying to fight these super deep-seated biases with sheer willpower, it's exhausting, and most of the time, it just doesn't work. The much smarter approach is to just accept our brain's weird glitches and then design systems that work around them. So what do these systems look like? Well, here are a few. For little things like coffee or going out to lunch, try using a cash-only envelope for the week. When the cash is gone, it's gone. Boom. You've just reintroduced the pain of paying. Before you make a big purchase, force yourself to ask, what else could I do with this money? That's opportunity cost. And finally, plan your splurges ahead of time. It totally prevents those in-the-moment impulse buys that are driven by things like relativity. And I think this is a really empowering message. This is not about depriving yourself or feeling guilty every time you spend a dollar. It's about becoming more conscious, more intentional, so that you can spend your money on the things that actually bring you long-term value and happiness, instead of just falling for a bunch of psychological tricks. And that leaves us with this really big, powerful question to think about. We can learn all these techniques to protect ourselves, all these ways to hack our own brains, but should we have to? Or should the financial systems themselves be designed to be more ethical, so they're not built to exploit our natural human irrationality? It's definitely something to chew on. Thanks so much for digging into our financial psychology with me today. If you want more explainers like this, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode.